Hello, we would like to continue our chapter. This is here is Punjab, right? Okay. The Punjab is fine place. There is a little fever there. It is very healthy. Yeah. I am glad to hear it. Mrs. Clifford says. Mrs. Clifford and Mr. Gupta conversation is going on, connected to India and about Mrs. Clifford's son, uh, Frank's conditions. Her baking finished. What she's made? She made cake. Maggie, she said, take Mr. Gupta upstairs. I will wash my hands and bring tea. Yeah, now both of the three people are in the kitchen. Mrs. Alice Margaret Clifford and Mrs. Clifford and Mr. Gupta. They are in the kitchen now. And after finishing baking cake, Mrs. Clifford said it to Maggie, carry Mr. Gupta to upstairs. I will come with the tea there. Well, Maggie showed the way to the sitting room and I followed. I means here, Mr. Gupta. The furniture was cheap and there was not much of it. There is no furniture in the room, means sitting room. And the existing furniture is very cheap. So from this we can understand that Maggie family is very poor. The carpet was all, floor carpet was very old, torn in place. Torn means that that's dirty or piece in place. But everything was extremely clean. That's one of the condition. Even though the carpet is torn and old, when furniture is less and cheap, but the room is exactly very clean one. Maggie drew the curtains back and opened the windows. There was a glass bookcase. I stood in front of it. Okay, there is the situation is now in the sitting room. There was a glass bookcase. There's a bookshelf is there. I stood in front of it. I stood means here Mr. Gupta stand in front of the bookshelf. Well, Miss Clifford came in carrying the tea tray a few minutes later. All traces of the kitchen had vanished from her person. Yeah. Now, in order to treat the guest, usually Mrs. Clifford has to take in the tea and it now distribute to Mr. Gupta from the sitting room. As we drank tea, I talk about India. I mean here, Mr. Gupta talk about India. Mrs. Clifford showed me a photograph of her son. What's the name of the son? Frank or Francis. It had been taken before he left. He left means Francis or Frank left from England. Now he is in served in India. His name was Francis or Frank. Maggie brought out book of pictures he had sent her for her birthday. There was many pictures of Simla and surroundings mountain country. Simla is a place near Himachal Pradesh. Shimla. It's a tourist place, very mountain country, just like Everest said. On the inside page was written to Maggie on her birthday from her loving brother Frank. Okay, this paragraph they are inquire about Frank and they introduce Frank in front of Mr. Gupta. Oh, the Frank photograph and Frank sent birthday gift and birthday greetings to Maggie. All it is shown by Maggie and Mrs. Clifford to Mr. Gupta. Maggie, said Miss Clifford, show Mr. Gupta the ring. Ring mean what is the ring? I already told it. It's Indian people have some magical power. Indian people have magical power. That's why they have a ring or they have a crystal ring. If you are looking the ring, we can find out futures every war in the world. It is believed by this Maggie and Mrs. Clifford. Maggie, said Mrs. Clifford, show Mr. Gupta the ring. Has your brother sent you a ring? I asked her. Let me see what kind of ring it is. Has your brother sent you a ring? I asked her. Yes, sometimes this very previous days, previous months or year, Frank visited the land of mother. That means it's a Clifford, and he brings a crystal ring from India to England, and he gave this to as a present for Miss Maggie. So Mr. Gupta asked that, where is that ring? Can I just look? It is a magic ring, Maggie explained. A yogi gave it to Frank. That means the magic ring given by a yogi from India to Francis or Frank, and that now it's in the hands of Maggie. She brought it and asked, can you see the past and the future in it? Yeah, can you see the past and present? Can you see the past and the future in it? In it means here crystal ring. It means here crystal ring. I had heard a lot about crystal gazing. Gazing means looking. A crystal was set in the ring. I took it up and examined it. And Frank sent the ring, Mr. Clifford said. He wrote that if you concentrate on a distant person as you gaze into it, you will be able to see him and what he is doing. Yes, that's the peculiarity of that ring. That means Frank got the ring from Indian yogi. Now that is in the hands of Maggie. And Maggie showed the rings to Mr. Gupta, and they are discussed about the ring. That uh, British family believed that if you look into the ring, crystal ring, we can see the distant past and future. That's a belief of Europeans. Mostly Europeans are believed in order to know about the future, they are looking or gaze into the crystal. Some of these rooms are set in European countries. That means in order to know about the future. We are using here in the so-called word Jadagam, whereas in the European country they use in crystal ring or crystal globe. Look, just put their two arms on the globe, then the astrologers said about the future of that particular person, those who have put the hand on the crystal globe or crystal ring. Here is the crystal rings. They believe that these all the women and Miss Alice believe that they can easily find out the past and future through looking into the ring. That's a superstitious belief. Maybe it is superstitious belief of Europeans. So that is they are talking about in the sitting room. Okay, they can see. This is what Yogi told Frank. That means the Frank told to Maggie, but before that, Frank got this information from Indian Yogi. How Frank is reached in India? Can you say? Yes, Frank is working in India as a soldier under British rule. Clear? Right. So where did Frank get this ring? The Frank got this ring from a Indian yogi. Yogi means sannyasi, monk, priest, like that. Okay. All right. And this ring is now in the hands of Maggie. How Maggie did get this ring? Maggie did get this ring from Frank. When Frank visited their home, Frank carried the ring and it gave to Maggie. Now Maggie showed these rings to Mr. Gupta and they discuss about this, what Frank said to Maggie. Frank said it, if you had to look at the ring, crystal ring, they can easily find out, or you can easily find out the present and future of the distance person. Who are you thinking? That person, past and future, we will get. That is information given by Yogi to Francis and Franz to Maggie. Now, Maggie to Mr. Gupta. Understood? Yes. Maggie and I have concentrated upon it again and again because we have not had any news from Frank for a long time. But we have not been able to see anything. Why don't you try? You are here a Hindu. You may be able to do it. As Maggie told that, you wear the ring and just look in the ring, then you can easily find out Mr. Frank. Where is Frank? Frank is live in India or die. Where is Frank? Which place is Frank is now staying? Like that information we will get through looking in the ring. That's the belief of Mrs. Clifford and Maggie. And that's why Mrs. Clifford and Maggie compelled Mr. Gupta to wear the ring and look at the ring and to find out where his Frank is. Because Mr. Gupta is Indian, especially Hindu family, belongs to Hindu family. A Hindu family member, especially the yogis, they can easily find out what is future and what is past. So that's why they compelled Mr. Gupta to wear or wore this ring, crystal ring. Exactly, Maggie's and Mrs. Clifford intention was that. What was the intention? To find out France, to find out Francis. Where is Francis now staying? All right, well, I realized that superstition was not confined to India. Yes, I means here Mr. Gupta understood that India is not India. Not only India is a land of superstitious, but England is England also European too, the land of sometimes superstitious beliefs. I don't have the heart to tell this mother and the daughter that the ring was nothing much. Yes, that's even though he is a Hindu, Mr. Gupta couldn't find anything through this crystal ring. He can't say any negative answer to Mrs. Clifford and Miss Maggie because they are hope very much. They believed very much the crystal ring. That's why he is in confusion. Mr. Gupta is in confusion. How I can say a wrong thing to Miss Gupta? I mean, Mrs. Clifford and Maggie. They exactly there is nothing to see while looking into the crystal ring. Then what I will do? So he is confused now. Who Mr. Gupta confused in front of Maggie and Mrs. Clifford connected to crystal ring. All right. Okay. Brass with a piece of ordinary glass stuck into it. This is the nature of crystal ring. What is it? It is a brass EM with a piece of ordinary glass stuck into it. Stuck means it's a you can see that some of these uh, finger rings are some people are used to sell in. That is some people are brown on the top, some people are green, some people are red. It depends upon. It's a peculiar ring that is now available in market also. Some people are sitting in the roadside. They have to sell such kinds of ring. Especially the North Indians came here with the beers, long beers. They have to sell like that. They used to wear suruma in the eyes, a peculiar dress and peculiar appearance. Everybody believes that there are some magical powers. They are selling some kinds of ring, and that ring has some kinds of connected to the future and the present. If you are aware that particular ring, for example, in Hindu family, each person has their own what is that astrology. Each person have their own what is Malayalam called Jadagam. So they have their own star. Star, not this sky star. It just means about star. It is star. Everybody have a star. Everybody has have star, and the star connected to the present and future. If you have to know your star, then you should have to buy a particular ring. If each star has a particular color, maybe it is, for example, maybe this star is Avittam, Ailyam, or it is called Punardam, or it is called what so-called the names of the star is there, and each star has their own fortunate color. If you have to wear their color in the way of a ring, this particular person will get some kinds of a progress. They will get money, they will get a promotion in the job, they will get a job, they will marry a good girl or boy, like that. So it's a superstitious belief. Maybe it is a belief. It is a belief in Hindu family. So most of them was wearing some kinds of ring, not a wedding ring. It is not a wedding ring. It is not at all a wedding ring. It is purely a separate ring, and that ring has some kinds of color on the top. Sometimes green, sometimes yellow, sometimes red, sometimes white, whatever it depends upon their stars. Okay, you understood? In jewelry shop also, if you say to the particular star, you will get such kinds of what color ring. Understood? Okay, this is the happened here. The crystal ring is now looking by Mr. Gupta. Mr. Gupta couldn't find out anything. That's why he is confused. You don't know what I want to say to very anxiously waiting Miss Maggie and Mrs. Clifford. Then he understood that not only Indians but European also too superstitious. He is doubt and he is suspicious about that. Okay, they believed that Frank had sent them a new and a miraculous thing from distant land, a dream India. How could I shatter their faith? Yes, miraculous means wonderful. That means he is now want to know whether I said that this ring is nothing, this is useless. You don't want to carry this. But Maggie and Mrs. Clifford believe that this thing is very precious. Which thing? The crystal ring is very precious. It is given by Yogi from India to France, and Frank is given to Maggie. And this is considered to be as one of the things we can easily understood our future and the past. So that's why they are very hope. But Maggie and Mrs. Clifford became very hopeful people. To they awaiting the result of crystal ring by looking Mr. Gupta. But now Mr. Gupta is not understood that what I can do, what I will say to these people, because they are very anxious, they are very anxious, and sometimes very hopeful for this ring. If we say that the ring is nothing, it is useless, throw it means what about their feelings? That's why it is confusion now. Mr. Gupta is in confused state. What I will tell this family. Okay, then, urged by Mrs. Clifford and Maggie, I took the ring into my hand and stared at it intensely for a long time. Now he is acting. That Mr. Gupta just has to put into that crystal ring into the arms and finger, and he just staring, looking very staringly, continuously look long time. I cannot see anything. Yeah, I exclaimed at last, give up. Exclaimed means he is tell himself. That means I can't see anything through the ring. Exclaimed means surprise. Okay. Well, the mother and daughter were disappointed. Yes. Now mother and daughter disappointed. Who is mother? Mrs. Clifford. Who is the daughter? Miss Maggie. Why they disappointed? Because Mr. Gupta, after looking into the crystal ring, he said that nothing can't see. I can't see nothing through the ring. That's why the mother and daughter disappointed. To change the subject, I said, here is a violin. In order to concentrate the another attention, Mr. Gupta want to change the attention. Why Mr. Gupta want to change the attention? Because these anxious and hopeful ladies now disappointed. So he want to change the atmosphere. He want to change the words. He want to change the atmosphere. He said that, oh, what is a violin here? Who played the violin here? Like that question says, the violin is there in the sitting room. Here is a violin. It's yours, isn't it? He changed the words. Who changed the words? Mr. Gupta changed the words. Why Mr. Gupta changed the words? Because the hopeful ladies are awaiting in front of him. What the ladies want? The ladies want to know about the future and the past of Frank or Francis, Mrs. Clifford, son, Maggie's brother. But actually, Mr. Gupta looked into that crystal ring. He couldn't see anything. So that's why he want to avoid the disappointment of these girls. Yes, Miss Clifford answered. Maggie plays quite well, Maggie, please play something for us. Maggie is excellent violinist player. Who said it? Mother said it. Oh, mother, Maggie looked at her in protest. That means if you have praised someone, if you are to praise, that man is very great, good, and do like that, do like that. That man is sometimes in front of him, we said like that, he is now, what's that, shame like that one. That is why she is in protest. Who is in protest? Maggie. Why? Mrs. Clifford said that Maggie is excellent violin player. Maggie, I pleaded, please play something. I am very fond of the violin. Fond means like. I have a, I have a sister. I have a sister at home about your age. She used to play for me. This year, Mr. Gupta compelled her to play violin, and he said it's in my sister also at the same age of Maggie in India. She had also played very nicely the violin. So please play a violin. She used to play for me. Okay. The way I play is not at all worth not listening to Maggie's sense. Maggie said that no, I am not in a very good in playing violin. So I am not interested to play violin now. Who said it? Maggie said it. Okay. My entertains at least persuaded her to play. Persuaded means continuously saying, please, please, please. Lastly, Maggie ready to play violin. I do not know many pieces. Piece means here notes, musical notes. Understood? You can see some of the musical notes in different symbols. What would you like to hear? Yes, there are too much type of music is rap music, is pop music, is classical music, is melody is there. So that's why Maggie asked to Mr. Gupta what kind of music he like to hear. Shall I choose something? All right, then give me your music. Let me see what you have. Yes. And Mr. Gupta said, shall I choose something? Okay. Maggie brought out an old music case bound in a black leather. I opened it. Most of the piece was light as light. That means Maggie had a big collection of music. There's a particular shelf and box is there. So she opened it. Most of the piece was light as. Air means here songs. What is air means here? As, A-I-R-S means song. Most of the songs are light. That means not too much voice one. Goodbye, Dolly Gray. That's a piece of music first line, song first line. Honeysuckle and Bee. That is another first line of the music. There were a few really good, though old-fashioned one. Things like Robin Adair. All the music is there. First line is Robin Adair. Anis Louis. That's another music first line. The least rose of summer. That's another line. There was several Scottish songs. Scots means Scottish song, not only English, but also Scottish songs also in the collection of Maggie. So I selected Bluebells of Scotland. I means here, Mr. Gupta selected last. The Bluebells of Scotland want to play through the piano and handed Maggie the music. Maggie played and hummed. Hummed means that's called as tuned and tune myself. That means humid means it's we can call as to moolga. That means as per the music, we have to use some kinds of sound from our mouth, right? Okay, now is this Mr. Gupta is sitting in the living room of Maggie and Mrs. Clifford also there. They are now starting to sit about the music and Mr. Gupta understood that Maggie is an excellent player. What player? Musical player. That means especially which instrument? Violin. So Mr. Gupta compelled her to play a note, a piece of music. And Maggie shows so many collection of music from his shelf collection. Lastly, Mr. Gupta selected one that is a Scottish song, titled as The Bluebells of Scotland. And now excellently they played by Maggie in front of Mrs. Clifford and Mr. Gupta. Right, then so far we have discussed about this one. Okay, right, fine. Well, when the song was over, I praised her playing lavishly as I thanked her. When the song completed, I really appreciated, Mr. Gupta really appreciated Maggie and her play. Maggie has never had opportunity to study, Mrs. Clifford said. At that time, Mrs. Clifford said, Maggie didn't get an opportunity because of poverty, because of money, because of enough money. Maggie couldn't continue his musical study. She has learned what she knows by herself. She studied his own way. She didn't get any inspiration or didn't get any what coaching from others because she had no money. They are very poor, no. That's why they have not to go any coaching to teaching facilities to carry this. So that is why she is, even though she is not completed his her musical study, but she played very nicely. It is the information given by Mrs. Clifford to Mr. Gupta. I shall arrange for her to have a lesson. On my way back, I was filled with astonishment. The incident touched me very deeply. Mrs. Clifford said, Maggie has never get a chance to study music. She has learned what she knows by herself. If our circumstances ever improve, I shall arrange for her have lesson. That time, Mrs. Clifford said that if our poverty gone, if you get money, I will definitely send Maggie to a good coaching class for music. If Mrs. Clifford said like this, really Mr. Gupta heart is filled with a love, filled with a faithful, filled with a, what is it? His heart is now too much pain because of such kinds of situations Maggie and mother will face now. What is mother said that? If I got money, if our poverty is over, I will definitely send to Maggie to a music class. So this verse is touched by the heart of Mr. Gupta. This incident touched me very deeply. Which incident is touched him very deeply? That means Maggie's mother, Mrs. Clifford, said that if the poverty gone, if I have money, definitely I will send or I will put my daughter Maggie to a good tuition class for music. Well, next 3 months passed. Yes, now 3 months passed. Situation is now different. 3 months passed either. I visited Maggie and her mother several times. Now they Maggie and Mrs. Clifford and Mr. Gupta, they're very good friends. Several times Maggie and Mr. Gupta's met together at their home, and took Maggie to see the zoo once. Once Mr. Gupta took Maggie to see the zoo, zoo. She rode the elephant's Indian Raja like all other boys and girls. How delighted she was. From there, she got some kind of relief from the keep the touch of Mr. Gupta. Mr. Gupta has understood the situation of Miss Maggie and Clifford. That's why Mr. Gupta gave some kinds of relief and relaxed to them. Once Mr. Gupta took Maggie into zoo and he tried to take Maggie in front of, on the back of an elephant and act as a Raja in the country of India, just like they are acting. So this so far, Mr. Gupta understood the condition of this family. That's why he is one of the great relief for Maggie. Maggie now get too much happy now. He's relaxing now. He's slowly to try to avoid the sorrows of his family and sorrow of his missing brother. Okay, so totally we can say that Mr. Gupta helped them very much in order to get the relief, especially Maggie and Mrs. Clifford. Well, but no news had come from her brother. Still no news come from her brother. What's the name of the brother? Frank or Francis. Where did the news want to come? From India. Why? Because Francis worked there as a soldier under military, under British. Still, but there is no conversation, there is no letter, there is no phone call. At that time, the phone is very rare. There was no mobile at that time. There is no letter. Most of them, telegram and letter is important thing at that time. There is no information about the weather. Now 3 months passed. Urged by Mrs. Clifford, I went to India House one day and made enquiries. I was told the regiment to which Frank belonged to was fighting on the northwest frontier. While he was in India, Mr. Gupta is in India. Now Mr. Gupta is in India. He is in Indian land, his home. He inquired about the Franks. At that time, they informed that he is under frontier of northwest frontier. Frontier means border. He is under the all the regiment. Regiment means group. The military group called regiment, to which Frank belonged to, was fighting on the northwest frontier. He is now engaged in fighting in the northwest frontier under British rule. We got the information. Mrs. Clifford became extremely worried when she heard it. Now she got the information passed by Mrs. Clifford, and Mr. Clifford is too much worried because they are in the fighting scene in the northwest frontier. One day, I received a postcard from Maggie. She wrote, "Dear Mr. Gupta, dear Mr. Gupta, okay, my mother is very ill. I have not been able to go to work for a week. We shall be extremely grateful if you take a trouble to come to see us." Okay, now Mr. Gupta is in the land of still in Britain. So you got a letter from this postcard in the way of postcard. From this, Maggie wrote the letter to Mr. Gupta. It said about what? Mrs. Clifford is not well. She is in critical situation. She was in critical situation. So please come and relax to my family. That letter is addressed like that. Dear Mr. Gupta, my mother is very ill. I have not been able to go to work for a week. Yeah, I can't go to work because I want to look at my mother. We shall be extremely grateful if you come with your presence in our family. If you please come, and it is down the letter, postcard letter written by Maggie. Right. I had told the family. Okay, I think it's better to stop here. The postcard letter is posted by Maggie to Mr. Gupta. Please help. Help means not in the way of money, but in the way of, I think, in the way of presence. Just that's why she said give a letter. It's the Mrs. Clifford is ill mainly because of inquire about the Frank or Francis, her son. They did not get any kinds of information from India, so that's why she is too worried. We can understand a lovable mother hurt always pain for their daughter and son. Even though they are very poor family, she couldn't find her son, and Maggie couldn't find her brother, and even couldn't see, but also there is no information. That is a very important thing. For example, if our house, father and mother and our families are there, if somebody is your family have in abroad, maybe they are not call you, they will not send a letter, they will not use any mobile. What will you feel for a long years? You have too much worry, isn't it? Just to think about that. You too much worry. If you love him or love her, you have too much worry, and you will sometimes get ill with your worry. In our body, mind is everything. If your mind is dead, every disease will come on our body, isn't it? So here is the mind of Mrs. Clifford is already dead because of her son. There is no information. There is no any message. There is no any call. There is no any letter for a long years. That's why she is now under bed or on the bed. See that? Still, she is not in recovered her mind. So that is why Miss Maggie write a letter to, a postcard to Mr. Gupta. Please, this is a situation. So what will Mr. Gupta will do? Let us see that in next class. Thank you very much. I hope that is a happy Christmas to you, and you have a, I think you have a vacation for 2-3 days, right? So that's all. Study well and also take the notes and everything. Here is that everything, notes and everything. If you want, you write the notes. If you want, no, you should have to write the note perfectly. Then show to me my WhatsApp, right? The very important things in this chapter is review and a letter and other things. Next, I will say to next class. Thank you very much. Happy Christmas, you. Take care. Bye.